park, a college, and it should be one of the main economic and tourist powerhouses for Tuolumne County, but it isn't. We have a relatively small group of very well organized and vocal activists that have characterized every new endeavor as some sort of existential threat to Columbia's existence. The information they put out was not accurate. It did not show that building there, and many of the complaints, and I read some of the opposition statements, discussed the traditional yellow design of Dollar Columbia, and it was that design to which they were objecting. Unlike much of the opposition, my husband and I are property owners in downtown Columbia. We own, we do not rent. So I would like to emphasize to Mr. Latore that our concern as property owners is not that this project will bring down the value of our property, but if you do not allow this property or this project to go through, that our property value will plummet as a consequence. Because, and you can laugh, but you do not have a stake in that property.
Hey folks, let's respect people's right to speak, all right?
We all live here.
Okay, you can continue.
Excuse me?
Now, wait a minute. This is not a debate with the public, just address the commission.
To a certain extent, we're kind of glad that we don't actually have that property paid off. Because it's gotten to the point where no one can develop anything without going through a horrendously expensive process. The parcel under development, preserving the historic quality of Columbia is important, but so is providing goods and services to a modern standard of quality and variety to the people that are actually trying to raise families in here, and for the benefit of Commissioner Latore, who could not be here tonight for an important meeting. There are not too many people here of childbearing age.
Please address the commission, not the audience.
Oh, I'm just saying, I'm looking at them. There are not too many people here that are of childbearing age that would have small children trying to raise them here in Columbia. Columbia is a federally designated food desert.
Not anymore.
No, it is. The cost of driving to Sonora adds hundreds of dollars onto every family's food bill, as well as worsening the congestion and pollution going through Sonora, which damages their historic infrastructure.
You talking for all of us?
No, I'm talking for myself. You can wait your turn. I know many of you have objected to the idea of a chain located in Columbia, but the reality is to rehabilitate that parcel, it's going to take a chain.
Thank you.
I would like to say I don't feel I got the full 3 minutes considering the comments.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak in favor of the project? And I urge the audience to be respectful of every speaker. If we can't conduct this hearing in a courteous and respectful manner, maybe we'll just end it and start over again another time. But go ahead, sir.
Norman Nickerson. I reside in Sonora for about 10 years, but I'm a Bostonian. And you ought to see what we did to Faneuil Hall. Skyscrapers around Faneuil Hall. So we're used to this sort of thing. These people are going to bring in a ton of money. Like it or not, you got to know something to do. You got to be able to use money here, can't you? So let them in. They're going more than halfway with you. I mean, even if they're compelled to or forced to, they're willing to work with you to get it looking right. And all these other sundry issues are relatively unimportant. They're just argumentative. So I wouldn't worry about the small stuff. The big stuff, bottom line is, it develops your economy. We're a $15.7 trillion economy. You want to step on that? Not here. You got a historic thing here. You got a great thing. But you need some more money. You need a lot more money. And you'll take the pressure off, as the woman said. You'll take a little pressure off of Sonora. And from a lot of other operations. We squashed Walmart's extension into a food area, but I think that was kind of out of order, but that's the way life is in America, and choice. But the business thing, God, reputation was the big thing I thought about squashing Walmart. We can't have a reputation of arrogance, of we're historic and we're wonderful and we can work. Give us the opposition and let us work with it. It's like buying the house. Buy the house and we'll figure out how to pay for it. That kind of thing. So live with this thing. I honestly urge you, if somebody's waiting for what this thing will do. I've been into several of them, and the money is great, absolutely great money to sustain families that need this kind of low money, and the competition. Competition is a vital, vital, vital thing. These people are big people, so let's play ball. I say play ball. Do I get a bodyguard out of here? I'm done.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else wish to speak in favor of the project? Yes, sir. You're up.
My name's Bob O'Connor. I was a process server here for about 12 years, so I got to know a lot of the community.
Pull the microphone a little closer or bend over on the other.
I got to know a lot of the community while I worked here, lived here, up on Big Hill. I'm going to mention a name that probably a lot of the people behind me know, Vietnam Steve. I'm going to use him as an example of many people here, Section 8, SSI, Social Security, who ride a scooter, bicycle, walk, to the very limited and exorbitant fee-based mercantiles where they get some of their needs and their dollars are really thin. That's my main concern. And you mentioned competition. The competition will finally get everybody a little bit in line and make it a lot easier on many of the denizens of Yankee Hill, Big Hill, Italian Bar, many of our motorhome camps here, trailer parks. Those kind of people really need it. Nobody's going to travel from far to get here. So the traffic is going to be as bad as projected or thought. Rather than talk about the historic thing, I presented some photos, and you'll notice from the entrance of the park, you're 5 corners away from any kind of structure, and it's under the auspice of the airport with coating. And if you notice, the airport was not part of the history here. It's a latecomer. Neither were the gas stations, nothing outlying. The people who are concerned about the historic quality of Columbia State Park are worrying about nothing. It's a moot point. But think of jobs. I'm gonna just highlight a couple things. This is for you people. Jobs will come. There's going to be construction, ongoing construction, all sorts of renovation of the entire area before the construction takes place. They'll hire employees. As soon as people bring dollars to the store, they bring dollars to the community. And I think those are the crux of the argument, and not worrying about appearance of something that's 5 corners away from the historic area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak in favor of the project? Welcome to come forward. Yes, ma'am.
People know there's some extra seats up front.
Well, there's 3 seats up here if you get tired of standing.
People like to sit down.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm a member of the public, and I chastised you in the open and public forum and also behind the scenes for your decision not to allow Dollar General to make their presentation that you did when they came before you for Jamestown and Solsville. So I would like to see this PowerPoint. Hit your button. You're using my 3 minutes here. Because I haven't had an opportunity to hear from Dollar General until tonight, and then while they got their 3 minutes, I didn't feel it was enough.
This was a,
No, I have to talk. So I just I want to see.
we don't trade minutes, but these are
I'm not
your
trading.
minutes,
These
your
are my
minutes,
minutes,
and
and
you
I
want to have a
wanna see.
picture show?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Clock's running.
this is the scenic drive 49 to our site where we propose to.
Okay, so this is just a drive on the way to the site, that's it? Okay, there's nothing else?
That's correct on the slideshow.
Okay. Well, then we all got an opportunity to see it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak in favor of the project? Okay, no takers. Now we will go to the opponents of the project. I know we have a lot of them. Everybody will get their chance no matter how long it takes. I would suggest that you line up along the wall so, well, you can line up in the main aisle too. Just line up someplace so that we make the maximum use of our time. And with that, please.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you this evening. My name is Leslie Hartzell.
Speak close to the microphone, please.
I am the California Department of Parks and Recreation's Preservation Officer, as well as Chief of the Cultural Resources Division. In this capacity, I'm here to offer comment on the Dollar General Store Development Project under consideration by your commission. As early as 1928, Columbia was noted in a Frederick Law Olmsted Park Survey as the gold rush town to preserve. As he put it, for the very reason that the people of Columbia have been generally appreciative of the historic and picturesque qualities of the town and have in general felt a real local pride in preserving them. Columbia became a state park in July 15, 1945 with the signature of Governor Earl Warren, with the recognition that Columbia has more and better historic resources from the Gold Rush era than any other place in California. Indeed, the State Park Mission notes that this is a living historic town, not completely different, if you will, from Bodie as a ghost town today. What does it mean that Columbia became a National Historic Landmark in 1961? Consider that that was less than 1 year after the program began as a national law under the direction of the National Park Service. In it, it was recognized that the properties are of the highest national significance and possess exceptional value or quality in illustrating and interpreting the heritage of the United States. National Historic Landmarks are our country's highest preservation standard. There are only 142 National Historic Sites in California. 29 are in the possession of California State Parks for the citizens of California. Columbia is one of those. Please be aware that the National Park Service surveys existing National Historic Landmarks regularly to assess that the high degree of historic integrity is maintained and can delist properties that fail to maintain integrity through the cumulative effects of incompatible new construction, for instance. A concern was noted in 1978 in our general plan with the growing pressures of encroachment and development and inappropriate commercialism in and around the park. I would like to end by noting and echoing another sentiment from the general plan that expressed the department supports Tuolumne County in its efforts to promote high standards of land development and preservation around Columbia. And we will work with local governments and organizations to retain the park's historic rural setting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Wait, Mr. Chairman, I have a question for her.
Oh, okay, a question. Go.
Thank you.
When you were speaking on the decision to delist Columbia as a state park, as Are you on that sort of board that would do such a thing?
The National Park Service evaluates whether to delist a National Historic property. Let me give you an example. If a historic property burned in a fire, for instance, they might be required to delist it. And, you know, God forbid that should ever happen in this area. But that might be a condition in which can be delisted. And I also gave you an example of if the cumulative effects of encroachment around the National Historic Landmark could also affect its standing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
gentlemen. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Dan Osana. I'm a Senior Cultural Resources Manager for California State Parks from Sacramento and the Acting Historian for Columbia State Historic Park. I want to begin by recognizing James and Geraldine McConnell, who in the early 1940s started the first effort to save Columbia for its historic value. Their action and the support of the local community led to the establishment of Columbia State Historic Park in 1945. As a state park historian and a representative of the department, it is my honor and responsibility to continue to protect Columbia from threats to the historic character that has been so valiantly protected by this community for the last 70 years. Columbia State Historic Park was designated as a National Historic Landmark District in 1961 for its representation of how gold mining formed American frontier towns. While there are 154 historic buildings and sites that make up Columbia State Historic Park and the National Historic Landmark, it is the surrounding community and landscape that conveys the feeling and association of Tuolumne County's historic mining district, or past, excuse me. The very foundations of Columbia were built to accommodate the California Argonauts that came from throughout the world in search of gold. The boom and bust of gold mining towns is evident in many places within California. But unlike Columbia, very few are maintained and established as living examples of California's mining past. In addition to the buildings, the mountains of waste rock, foundations, roads, ditches, and mining sites are artifacts on display. These visual characteristics within the surrounding landscape evoke feelings of Columbia's local shared heritage, which benefits all aspects of this community. Allowing the public to view these resources without the intrusion of modern commercial development provides a unique opportunity to experience the geographical space mining activities encompassed. California State Parks is committed to preserve and protect these resources that contain the cherished local values. In order to accomplish this task, it is imperative that this community and visitors alike can immerse themselves in their heritage and understand their place within the history of California. A major discount retail store within the historic mining landscape is not appropriate, nor does it benefit Columbia. Dollar General does not evoke the feeling and association that is necessary to enhance the historic mining town atmosphere of Columbia. A Dollar General store at this location would detract from the values and characteristics that are currently attributed to Columbia and the surrounding rural community, thus impacting the National Historic Landmark within Columbia State Historic Park. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No questions, thank you. Yes, sir, next.
Before you start the clock, Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Latorre had a question of the county about state parks being notified of the road alignment. Would you like me to address that since I did not get a chance to give a rebuttal? I could do that with the county on the side as well.
Well, I think the county response was there was a traffic plan that the state did agree to some years ago. I was on that committee. I know the state agreed to it. Is that your issue?
Yes, I have staff that was actually at that and said that that realignment through our property on Springfield was not feasible.
Okay, well,
I could take that up with the county.
We're not going to debate
time.
that tonight, so why don't you go ahead with the order of business?
I understand, thank you. My name is Greg Martin. I'm the sector superintendent for Columbia State Historic Park. I want to share some thoughts with you, bringing what I have to say in the beginning into focus at the end. Calaveras Big Trees, just 27 miles from Columbia, is noted by many as inspiring the nationwide park movement and the beginning of the state park system through the discovery of the giant sequoias. President Lincoln, during the Civil War, had the presence of mind upon the discovery of this critical national heritage to set aside the Yosemite Valley and Mariposa Grove. Not unlike President Lincoln's recognition of the national value of the big trees to our heritage, Columbia would go on to be recognized as a National Historic Landmark. This designation extended President Lincoln's incredible forward thinking into the very area that we are meeting in today, Columbia. Preservation of the historic setting and surrounding rural landscapes is just one of the most important aspects of the National Historic Landmark designation. Therefore, the experience of visitors to Columbia begins far from the park's boundaries. And this sense of place begins when visitors get off the main highways, such as 4 or 49, and drive down the winding roads of Parrots Ferry. This sense of place plays an important role in helping to complete the experience of Columbia and Tuolumne County as authentic and complete as possible. We are not against business or Dollar General. However, like the majority of community members you see here today, do not see it as appropriate to have this project in Columbia. It's a special place, a living example of the past. And prominent designations such as the National Historic Landmark District or the county's Preserve America status could be negatively impacted if incompatible development erodes Columbia's rural setting. We have an opportunity to learn from the incident that occurred in 1853, the date the giant sequoia or the discovery tree was brought to the ground. While that tree no longer lives, Columbia does. And we have the opportunity to protect and preserve what Columbia means locally, statewide, and internationally. State Parks and Tuolumne County cannot do this alone. It takes a collaborative effort of community, local government, and state parks to help ensure visitors get the full experience. Let's make our community members proud of us tonight. Let's make sure Columbia lives into the future as an example that's not fragmented by commercial development of this magnitude. Future generations should enjoy this living town and its special characteristics that bring people from all over the world to absorb the rich history that this town represents. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? No questions. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Norm Ivy. I've lived in Columbia for 20 years, so I'm a relative newbie here. The lovely pictures on the board there, it's not about the external part of that building that the community is objecting to. It's the general nature of what business is being run in that business and in the building. So these folks have the unenviable position of being the nose of the camel. Once this is approved and put into place, we will have more traffic mitigation from the next KFC that's put up next door. And on and on and on. It's leapfrog development that will destroy this part of our county, and we don't want that. And you folks have the unenviable position of coming to a decision about that, but then moving on, and then the rest of our community has to live with McDonald's and KFC and Dollar General and another Walmart and more traffic. Something that takes me 5 minutes to get to work will now be 25 minutes just to get to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? No questions. Incidentally, I had KFC for dinner as a disclosure, sir. And it was pretty good. But anyway, I get your point. Yes, sir.
I'm Pierce Jensen. I live in Columbia. I've been here 17 years. 81% of products tested that dollar stores sell, including Dollar General, contain toxic chemicals that link negatively to learning disabilities, brain development, cancer, and other serious illnesses. In February, the Campaign for Healthier Solutions conducted a lengthy study to determine the presence of toxic chemicals in dollar store products. The study tested 164 products at 4 major dollar store retailers, including Dollar General, in 6 states. Researchers tested for arsenic, bromine, chlorine, lead, mercury, and tin. Of the products tested, 81% were found to have at least one toxic chemical above established levels of concern and 49% contain 2 or more toxic chemicals. These levels of toxicity pose a grave danger to the consumer, and in fact, multiple products actually contained excessive lead, including items designed for children and teens. Even the slightest exposure to lead impacts a child's brain development, resulting in irreversible learning and developmental problems. Lead is a potent neurotoxin that has already been regulated by the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission, yet the study still found that the substance in products targeted at families and children. Another concern, vinyl plastic was found in 38% of the products tested. Now, vinyl plastic contains plasticizers that are toxic chemicals that can cause birth defects, cancer, asthma, allergies, thyroid problems, and kidney disease. Not only are dollar stores knowingly selling dangerous products, they have also shown blatant disregard for safety regulations, placing our community's children at serious risk for health problems. In many communities where dollar stores are located, the stores are simply the only establishment selling essential household products. Therefore, low-income families are trapped in a dangerous cycle, because even if they wanted to protect their family from hazardous chemicals, they have limited or no access to healthier, safer alternatives. Dollar stores knowingly create toxic monopolies, exposing vulnerable families to hazardous chemicals. Dollar store products may be cheap, but the long-term costs associated with health problems are enormous, and I don't want this health hazard in my community. Thank you.
Question? Yes, sir.
I'd like to thank the commission for giving us the opportunity to speak. My name is Bruce Meissner. My family has owned and operated the 49er RV Ranch out at Italian Bar Road, a half-mile north of the state park. And over the years, we've had thousands and thousands of campers from around the world and returning campers that come up from the Bay Area on a regular basis. And the thing that I love hearing about them around the campfire is stories about buying things from the concessionaires and talking to the local people and doing business with locals and mom and pop organizations, not the same homogenized business that they do business with maybe down in the Bay Area or even Modesto or Turlock. So I'm proud to say that I get to hear these directly from the people that are coming from out of town that are bringing the money to our community here and are happy and proud to be spending it with the mom and pop businesses that keep the money in the area. It's not a corporation where the money's coming into a cash register then going to their corporate headquarters somewhere. These people, they tell me when a lot of the returning people from the Bay Area, when they come through Sonora or Jamestown, and when they turn on Parrots Ferry off of 49, it's heartwarming to me to hear them say they feel like they're coming home. They're coming home to their retreat from their hectic life, and they're going down the corridor. And I know that mistakes have been made in the past with signs and buildings along that corridor. But that's no reason for us to build on those and continue to make mistakes. That I hope that the Planning Commission decides to do what they think is right and not what was wrong in the past. Thank you again for giving me the time.
Thank you. All right. Any questions? You see any? Yes, ma'am. You're next.
I'm Pam Ivy. Thank you so much for holding this in our community. My husband Norm and I live in a historic Columbia home built by immigrants seeking gold in the late 1800s. There's a rich historical legacy on our land as well as throughout our community. Those of us who have chosen to live in Columbia are stewards of this legacy. We've sought this area because it is devoid of the commercial hustle found elsewhere in the county. We support Columbia State Historic Park by marching in the 4th of July parade, by singing carols with our neighbors neighbors in the freezing rain at Las Posadas. They were there with us. And it's a community where the gold rush history is cherished, where traditions are handed down from one generation to the next, where neighbors know and support one another, and it's no surprise that hundreds of us oppose locating a Dollar General store here. The state park website indicates that, quote, in 1945, the state legislature made the site a state historic park in order to preserve a typical gold rush town, an example of one of the most colorful eras in American history. The proposed site for Dollar General is at the gateway to the state park. In no way does this store set the stage for moving back through time and learning about the past. Rather, its location here would mark this area as indistinguishable from all other places where cheap, and I've just learned, toxic junk is available. Putting a Western-style front on the store hardly mitigates the downgrading effect it would have on Columbia. Further, the Friends of Columbia State Historic Parks website indicates that one of our main goals is to create an understanding of Columbia's prominent role in the history of Tuolumne County and California, unquote. As visitors on their way to Columbia pause at the stop sign at the intersection of Parrots Ferry and Shaw's Flat Road, they will be looking directly at Dollar General. It is unlikely this view will promote the goal of creating an understanding regarding Columbia, other than the understanding that this region is in no way remarkable nor worthy of special attention. They will have just passed a Dollar General store on their way through Jamestown just a few miles ago, and they may be baffled by the lack of planning exercised in Tuolumne County. Thank you. Dollar General is an outlet for items of substandard quality that are made offshore. Stores within the park, in contrast, celebrate the independent American spirit with handmade leather goods, implements forged by the blacksmith, hand-dipped chocolates. Successful businesses just outside the park boundaries, such as Kate's Tea House and Claude's Market, also reflect the historical entrepreneurial spirit and are important parts of the community. In no way does Dollar General help to weave our social fabric. Rather, it represents a downward shift in community values and unraveling of the ties that bind this unique area together. Dollar General is unwelcome here. Thank you for carefully considering our point of view. Our goal is to protect the park and its legacy for those who follow us. Dollar General neither has roots in this community nor the least commitment to protecting the history that is precious to us. Thank you.
Sharon Marovich, representing the Tuolumne Heritage Committee. We believe you have legitimate legal grounds to deny the site development permit. Ordinance Section 17.68.100 governs site development permits, which are required to ensure a desirable design for any proposed commercial building. Bev has already told you that. We believe the appearance of the Dollar General building fails to meet this standard for these reasons. Two sides of the building resemble airplane hangars at Columbia Airport, and two sides look like part of a Hollywood Western set run through an industrial strength trash compactor. This isn't architecture, it isn't even design, and in no way resembles anything the Columbia Design Guidelines require. Additionally, parking is next to Parrots Ferry Road, and that's another Columbia Design Guidelines no-no. Section 17.68.120 requires site development permits to be consistent with the general plan. Bev has already told you that. The store fails to meet the community identity elements requirements to retain scenic character, for new development to be compatible in scale and in character of the area, and for new development to be designed in an architectural style which is aesthetically pleasing and blends into the architecture of the community. The company's Plano, Texas architect has failed on all of these requirements. Additionally, the design does not meet the standards of the Columbia Community Plan, also part of the general plan, which requires retaining the gold rush character of Columbia and improving the scenic qualities along Parrots Ferry Road, and requiring ponderosa pines and valley oaks in landscaping plans. None are shown on the plan by the Reno landscape architect, and in fact, several ponderosas are planned to be removed. These areas of concern I have just mentioned are legal findings to deny the site development permit. Relative to the conditional use permit permit requesting freeway-style corporate signage, please just say no. Parrots Ferry Road is a country road, not a freeway. Please protect Columbia and the park from such a poorly conceived attempt by a huge retailer to sprawl its way into our beautiful Columbia. As early as the 1930s, a report urged protection of Columbia from careless and indifferent neighbors and incongruous modern joints from exploiting the visitors attracted to the town because of its historic interest. Planning commissions in North Carolina, South Carolina, Maryland, Minnesota, and Lakeport have all denied Dollar General applications. You can too.
Next, please.
There are 3 golden rules of...
Hold on. Question. You got a question, Cole? Let's be alert.
Hey, Sharon. As a historian of Tuolumne County, and you talk a lot about what a building should look like, or you were saying that it doesn't follow the guidelines of Columbia in your eyes as a historian, what is physically wrong? Like when you look at the design, what is not following the guidelines as a historian for Columbia?
Well, it's got 2 sides that don't even relate to the other 2 sides. I understand what they're trying to do, but their Plano, Texas architect has totally missed the mark.
What is, I don't know what plain Texan, what is that? Explain that.
You want what?
What is that look? You say it a lot, but I don't know what that look looks like.
It's an architect from another part of the country.
It's an architect who probably has never been to the site, never has seen the slideshow that the gentleman up there presented, and also all the speakers before me, and I'm sure everyone who's going to speak today is going to say the exact same thing. Columbia is a very special place. Columbia State Historic Park is a national historic landmark. That's huge. And the gateway to Columbia State Historic Park is Parrots Ferry Road. It is not an urban setting, it is a rural setting. It does not deserve a 9,100 square foot, horribly designed building at its gateway.
Okay, thank you. Next.
It's generally considered that there are 3 golden rules of retail: location, 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 and this one could not be worse. I'm Joe Rotifer. I'm the president of the school board for 2015 at Columbia Elementary. Several months ago, the board sent a letter strongly opposing the Dollar General store, or as I like to call it, Accidents R Us. This is a safety issue which is not sundry. The proposed store, I clocked it the other day, is 0.2 of a mile from the school. There are kids walking along that area all the time. And listening to these gentlemen, interestingly, the peak hours of traffic coincide, funny thing, with the peak hours of school. Well, isn't school over before the peak hours in the afternoon? For the most part, yes. However, Columbia has a very popular after-school program. We have a lot of students in that school because of that after-school program. Funny thing, it's exactly the same time after-school program gets out as when the peak traffic is, not to mention all the staff and the teachers and what have you. I'm really familiar with this intersection since I live less than a mile away from it, and I'm also a vendor at the farmer's market at the airport. I'm there all the time. And it's a hinky hunk of road already, no question about it, Bev. But adding the traffic that will result from Accidents R Us is only going to make it worse. Now, I saw a traffic study / plan some months ago, and in that one I didn't see any provisions for sidewalks or crosswalks or anything for the safety of the kids. Now I'm hearing something about sidewalks, so maybe I said, oh, maybe we should add that. But more importantly, I think the absence of those safety things speaks volumes as to the obliviousness to and or disregard for the environment of that area. That's not a candidate for good neighbor policy. So to all those programs and plans and studies and what have you that Ms. Shane referred to that the project has to be consistent with, I would add one more thing that it has to be consistent with, and that's common sense. And at some point in time, common sense has to step in here, folks. So whatever redeeming features another Dollar General has for this county, I really think they're heavily overwritten by the downsides of this store at that location.
Any questions? No, thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello, My name is Carson Baker. I've lived in Columbia for most of my life, 12 years. I love this town, and I have lobbied state senate twice during the recession to keep Columbia off of the park's closure list. And that's because of this amazing town, because of what it is, what it represents. And that is not part of what it represents, plain and simple. Columbia is one of, as far as I can think of right now, 3 major local attractions: Railtown, Columbia, and Yosemite around here, that brings tourists from all around the world. We have a very unique setup. All 3 of these places have very unique setup. And a Dollar General does not agree with any of this. It's not historic, as the lady, two people before me pointed out. That's not really accurate to the time period. None of this just works, you know. All right, thank you for your time.
I'm going to cheat because I can't bend over.
Good.
Folks, my name's Rob Gorham. I own and operate 2 businesses here in the local community. One is 49 Armani Supplies. The other one is the Columbia Inn Motel. I recently invested several thousands of dollars buying the motel because I believed in this community and cleaning it up. It had a bad reputation. Hello, everybody. I'm the new owner. Ma'am, I got to address somebody in the audience. You said you're making payments. Mine's paid in full because I believe in what I stand for. I am a miner by heart. I've got mining operations in Alaska as well as locally. The whole thing is about this community is I believe in it. That's why I invested into it. I'm begging you from the board. We don't need, lack of a better word, foreign business coming in and bringing their products in here when we've got local. I can go down and buy bread at the bread shop here, made locally. I don't need to buy it for 50 cents where it's going to be stale by the time it gets in.
Please address the commission, not the audience.
Yes, I am addressing you as well. The thing is, buy locally. Support your community. Support Americans. We've got enough trouble in this world. We need to support our community, and through your efforts, you're part of this community. I can go to a Dollar General within 5 minutes going to Sonora, 10 minutes to Angels Camp. Let me go to Jamestown. You know, I think per capita, if we really did a study, we probably got the largest Dollar General capita in Tuolumne County. And I think it's crazy. Listen, we don't need more foreign goods. There's something about U.S. made and U.S. bred. I don't need to waste any more of your time. Please take that into council. And that's coming from somebody that owns 2 businesses in full. I believe in this community. Thank you for your time.
Next.
Hello. My name is Erin Gold, and I have been a community member for the last 37 years. I'm sure some of you know I submitted a very lengthy response to the county, about 7 pages, I believe, which you have in front of you. But only having 3 minutes, I just want to touch on 2 very important parts of that. That is the traffic impact mitigation fees and also the project proponents' fair share that they have proposed in their initial study. As I pointed out in my comments, and what I don't feel that the county really responded very well to, is that the initial study fails to recognize that paying into the Traffic Impact Mitigation Fund does not guarantee that improvements to the transportation facilities immediately impacted by the project will be adequately funded or mitigated. The Columbia Dollar General highlights several long-term projects that are currently unfunded to correct current locational facilities on Parrots Ferry Road. The initial study Also does not propose any mitigation to correct current deficiencies that will be created by the project, and suggests that by simply paying a traffic impact mitigation fee to the county, that the project will adequately mitigate long-term impacts. According to our own general plan in the circulation element, traffic impact mitigation fees are usually inadequate to pay for transportation projects needed to accommodate growth created by the development. According to Appendix 2B of the general plan circulation element, and I'm quoting this, the general plan recognizes the major funding limitations that currently exist in the state of California. These limitations threaten the ability of responsible agencies to deliver needed projects. Furthermore, there are substantial shortfalls in funding for maintenance and operation of existing transportation facilities and services that must be resolved if California is to maximize its investment into the existing system. Finally, impact fees usually fail to not only generate sufficient revenue to pay for new facilities needed to accommodate new growth, but are restricted by law from paying for correction of existing deficiencies. End quote. This is taken directly from our general plan, our major policy document. The other item that I wanted to touch on tonight is the project proponent's fair share that will be 2.78% of the improvements at the Springfield Road intersection. The initial study states that the project's fair share to the Springfield Road realignment is based on 3 a.m. and 2 p.m. peak hour trips. The initial study is erroneous in assuming an unreasonably low number of project trips generated from the Springfield Road intersection, as I pointed out in my comment letter, and therefore is inadequately estimating an unreasonably low percentage of fair share contribution by the project proponent of $35,459. In addition, the realignment is a conceptual project, and I believe that the fair share...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm John Watson. I've worked in Columbia as a street musician now for 20 years. So I guess I'm a self-employed person in the tourism industry. Tourism is what we do in Columbia. That's our business. Worldwide, there are thousands and thousands of tourist destinations. There's a lot of competition for every tourist visit and every tourist dollar. Sometimes a simple difference in perception can determine where a person goes or if they come back. Over the years, numerous visitors have told me, I like the area. They say, I like to get away and come up for the day and just relax. Maybe bring the grandkids, take photos, have lunch, whatever. A day to get away and relax. They say, I like the area. It would be bad for business to damage that perception of Columbia by scattering the very things they don't want to see all over the landscape. To take care of the jewel, we need to take care of the setting. It is very important for the local economy to maintain the ambiance of a tranquil small town that can give a respite from modern life. I ask you to consider what you see, hear, and feel in East Sonora. Now compare that with what you experience in Columbia. It should be clear where a Dollar General fits in and where it does not. Planning for the Columbia area should favor small, local businesses that can contribute to the local economy and community life. This project is bad for business, it's bad for Columbia, we can do better. It should not be approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the commissioners for your time this evening. My name's Kim Baker, and I'm a 13-year resident of Columbia. I'm here to speak against this project as proposed at this location. The proposed building is far out of scale from any other development on the corridor, and the proposed parapets and surface treatments are not adequate to mitigate the impacts to the community, the corridor, the state park, and the National Historic Landmark District to a less than significant level. The two closest stores to the project area are each roughly 2,000 square feet in size, and this proposed commercial development is 9,100 square feet and approximately twice the height of the other commercial development along the corridor. It is feasible to build a smaller store, and the proposed tenant, Dollar General, has many stores in the 5,000 square foot range. This size with a more careful design would be much more appropriate. Additionally, it is feasible for Dollar General to construct and operate a store with a more complex footprint than a rectangle. The store should be redesigned to better reflect the architectural values of the Columbia area and the National Historic Landmark District as defined in the county's general plan, which may include multiple surfaces, changing the orientation, the use of real windows and doors on the facades, and other quality elements. The approval of the site development permit and conditional use permit require findings that the project is consistent with the general plan and the ordinance code, which include the Columbia Community Plan and Columbia Design Guidelines. Issuing a conditional use permit for exceeding the signage allowed under the Tuolumne County Ordinance Code Section 17.62.050 is not consistent with the Columbia Design Guidelines and is not necessary. Dollar General successfully operates many stores without freestanding signage. Overall, the people of California have invested millions of dollars in the preservation of the historic resources of Columbia State Historic Park. It is an economic engine for the county, and preserving the approach to the park is important to preserving that investment. This project needs more careful study and additional mitigations before it could be considered to have a less than significant impact. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Beetle Barber. I've lived in Columbia for 38 years. The work that I do have done for the last 15 years is as an advocate for homeless, and so I have found myself on the dark side of the room before commissions with long lines of people waiting to speak against my projects as well. So I have some sympathy, and I listened carefully to what the proponents of this project were saying. I certainly agree that the economy of this county is very slow to recover, and it scares me because I love living here and I want this to be a prosperous community and a prosperous county. I do not like saying no. I have heard no's from the commission before because of my projects, and it really bothers me that we will be saying no here. I want you to be very careful about saying no. However, I see the flyer that Dollar General puts in the Union Democrat. I look at it, and there is so much junk on that flyer, so many bad products that we don't want people to buy or to consume, that I have to do this. I have to come up here and say, no, I don't think this is appropriate. I don't want it in Columbia. I don't care what you do to the building. What is sold inside this building is really not worthy. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Brooke.
You're going to have to really pull that close. Take a bite out of it. Real close.
Right here?
There you go.
Okay. Hello, my name is Brooklyn McSparron, and I'm going against the general store because it does not fit into Columbia. It does not go with Columbia, and I go to Columbia Elementary School, and I will not step foot in the general store if you guys do it. It does not fit in, and it takes seriously 10 minutes to get to Jamestown to go to that general store. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Susan Lipscomb. I've lived in Columbia for more years than I would like to admit. My concern is about Tuolumne Utility District. A few years ago, the school was enlarged and improved, and we really needed that project. But since it happened, there is a horrible stench of raw sewage every time it rains. Last winter, Tud was parked on one side or the other of Parrott's Ferry Road, where the Dollar General would like to be, trying to alleviate the stench of raw sewage. I don't want to go shopping in a store where I have to walk through a parking lot smelling like raw sewage. if they are not going to help improve Tuolumne Utility District, I don't see how they could say that their store will have no more impact than a single-family dwelling on the TUD system. And I hope that you will take those kind of things in consideration. I was told by a TUD worker that the new low-flow toilets that people are putting in their homes now don't work with the old system that's in Columbia. And I think that we really need to improve our infrastructure to support any big business in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. I tell you, we're going to take a break in a minute, but I have an earring up here, just one, and it doesn't do anybody any good unless you have the others. And so if you're short one little earring for a pierced ear, it's right here.
Just put it in your left ear, Dick.
With that, let's take a 10-minute break. I need it.